The silver moon cast ethereal shadows through the ancient oak trees as Luna Martinez adjusted her engagement ring for what felt like the 100th time that evening. The diamond caught the moonlight, throwing tiny rainbows across her palm, a perfect stone for what was supposed to be her perfect life. "Stop fidgeting with that thing," her best friend Sage laughed, bumping Luna's shoulder as they walked along the forest path back to the pack house. "You'd think you were nervous about something." Luna forced a smile, though her stomach had been twisted in knots all day. "Just excited, I guess." 3 weeks until the mating ceremony. 3 weeks until you become the future Luna of Silver Moon Pack, Sage corrected, her voice carrying that dreamy quality it always took on when discussing pack politics. "God, Luna, do you realize how lucky you are? Derek Stone is gorgeous, powerful, and completely devoted to you." Devoted. The word tasted bitter in Luna's mouth. If Derek was so devoted, why had he been avoiding her for the past month? Why did conversations die when she entered a room? Why did she catch pack members exchanging meaningful glances when they thought she wasn't looking? "I know," Luna murmured, because it was easier than voicing the doubts that had been eating at her like acid. "I'm blessed." The lie came so easily now. They crested the hill overlooking the pack house, and Luna's breath caught as it always did. The sprawling mansion glowed with warm light, its windows like welcoming eyes in the darkness. Cars lined the circular driveway, the monthly pack meeting was still in session. "Oh, perfect timing," Sage said, checking her phone. "The meeting should be wrapping up soon. Want to go find Derek?" Luna's wolf stirred restlessly beneath her skin. Something felt off. The usual sounds of laughter and conversation that typically spilled from pack gatherings were muted tonight. "You go ahead. I think I'll take the long way around, clear my head." Sage studied her with concerned eyes. "Luna, are you sure you're okay? You've been weird all week." "I'm fine." Another lie. Luna was becoming quite the expert at them. "Just pre-ceremony jitters." "Go on." With a skeptical look, Sage headed toward the main entrance while Luna veered toward the east wing. She told herself she was just being paranoid, that the strange tension she'd been feeling was nothing more than pre-mating anxiety. Every she-wolf went through this, right? But as she approached the library's French doors, voices drifted through the partially open windows. Male voices. Familiar ones. "Can't believe you're actually going through with it," someone was saying. It sounded like Marcus, Derek's beta. Luna froze, her enhanced hearing picking up every word with crystal clarity. "What choice do I have?" Derek's voice was sharp with frustration. "The alliance with Silver Moon depends on this mating. My father's made that perfectly clear." "But Luna Martinez, man. She's nice enough, but..." "But what?" Derek's tone had turned dangerous. "Come on, Derek. We all know she's not your true mate. Hell, she's barely adequate breeding stock. Her mother was weak, died in some pathetic human car accident when Luna was a baby. And her wolf? Pleasant enough, but hardly alpha material." Luna's hand flew to her mouth, stifling a gasp. They were talking about her mother, the mother she'd never known, whose death had always been a source of whispered conversations that stopped when she entered a room. "You think I don't know that?" Derek's laugh was cold and sharp. "Luna's a political arrangement, nothing more. A pretty little beta's daughter to keep the pack alliance strong and produce adequate heirs." The world tilted sideways. Luna gripped the window frame to keep from falling. "So what happens after the ceremony?" Marcus pressed. "You just, what? Pretend to be happy? I'll play the devoted mate for a few years, get her pregnant with an heir or two, and then..." Derek's voice dropped to a cruel whisper. "Then I'll find my real mate. When that happens, Luna becomes expendable. A reject. Hell, maybe I'll get lucky and my true mate will challenge her for the position. Problem solved." The other men laughed, actually laughed, at the idea of her humiliation, her potential death. "Poor little Luna," someone else chimed in. "She actually thinks you love her." "Love?" Derek's scoff was like a physical blow. I can barely stand to touch her. Do you know how hard it is to pretend attraction to someone so ordinary? But she's useful. For now. Luna's vision blurred. 3 years. 3 years of what she'd thought was courtship, of gentle touches and sweet words, of dreams about their future together. All of it had been a lie. The best part, Derek continued, his voice gaining momentum like he was warming to his favorite topic, is how grateful she is for my attention. Like she can't believe someone like me would want someone like her. It's almost pathetic how eager she is to please. The men erupted in laughter again, and Luna felt something fracture inside her chest. Not her heart, that had already shattered into a million pieces. Something deeper. Something fundamental. Her wolf whimpered, a sound of pure anguish that echoed through every cell in her body. She had to leave. Now. Before they caught her scent, before they realized she'd heard every devastating word. Luna turned to flee, but her legs felt like water, her coordination shot by the shock of betrayal. Her foot caught on the raised stone border of the flower bed, and she went down hard, her knee cracking against the decorative rocks with a sound that seemed to echo through the night. What was that? Marcus's voice, sharp with alertness. Luna scrambled to her feet, ignoring the pain shooting through her leg, and ran. Behind her, she heard the French doors bang open, heard Derek's voice calling her name with what might have been concern if she didn't know better. But she was already gone, crashing through the underbrush like her life depended on it. Because in a way, it did. Everything she'd built her identity around, her role as future Luna, her relationship with Derek, her place in the pack, had just been revealed as an elaborate lie. Tears streamed down her face as she ran, her wolf form begging to be released, to run faster, to escape the humiliation and pain. But she held on to her human shape, needing the sharp clarity of human thought to process what she'd just learned. How could she have been so blind? How could she not have seen the signs? The way Derek's kisses had grown perfunctory, the way his eyes never quite met hers anymore, the way conversation stopped when she approached. She burst through the tree line onto the main road, her lungs burning, her heart hammering against her ribs. The distant sound of the highway hummed through the night, trucks and cars carrying people to better lives, to places where they were wanted and loved and valued. Luna stopped in the middle of the empty road, lifting her face to the moon that had always been her comfort, her guide. But tonight, even the moon felt like a mockery. The silver moon pack. Her pack. The pack that had just been discussing her disposal like she was an inconvenient piece of furniture. How could you not tell me, she whispered to the night sky. How could you let me believe? A sound reached her sensitive ears, the rumble of a heavy engine, growing louder. Headlights appeared around the bend, moving fast. Too fast. Luna looked down at her engagement ring, the symbol of everything false in her life, and slowly slid it off her finger. The diamond caught the moonlight one last time before she flung it into the darkness. The truck rounded the corner, its headlights pinning her like a spotlight. The driver would see her in time. He'd stop. Or swerve. Or... Time slowed to a crawl as Luna realized 3 things simultaneously. The truck was moving far too fast for the driver to stop, the acrid smell of burning brakes suggested he was already trying, and she was standing exactly where she was supposed to be. For the first time in her life, Luna Martinez was exactly where the universe intended her to be. The last thing she saw before impact was Derek's face appearing at the edge of the tree line, his mouth open in what might have been her name or might have been a curse. Then the world exploded into pain and darkness, and Luna's perfect life finally, mercifully, ended. If you are enjoying this video, do well to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 2. The scream of twisted metal and shattering glass echoed through the night like a banshee's wail. Luna's world became a kaleidoscope of pain and spinning lights, headlights, stars, the silver moon above all blurring into one devastating moment of impact. Then silence. The kind of silence that comes before the universe decides whether to let you live or die. Luna drifted in and out of consciousness, aware of voices floating above her like distant thunder. Her body felt wrong, disconnected, as if her soul was hovering 3 feet above the broken shell that had once carried her through life. Jesus Christ, is she alive? A man's voice, rough with shock. The truck driver. Call 911. Now. Another voice, this one familiar. Derek. Through the haze of agony, Luna tried to move, tried to speak, tried to do anything that would prove she was still here. But her body refused to respond. She could smell her own blood, metallic and warm, pooling beneath her on the asphalt. Worse, she could smell something else, the acrid scent of her own fear. Luna. Luna, can you hear me? Derek's voice was closer now, and she felt hands on her face, surprisingly gentle. For a moment, her heart fluttered with something that might have been hope. Maybe she'd misheard his conversation. Maybe he did care, maybe. Oh, fuck. The curse fell from Derek's lips like a stone into still water, and Luna heard something in his tone that made her wolf whimper deep inside her shattered psyche. More voices joined the chorus. Marcus. Her father. Other pack members who must have followed Derek from the house. She could hear them talking, but the words seemed to come from underwater. How bad is it? Can you smell? Her legs, there. The bloodline implications. Luna fought through the fog of pain, forcing her eyes open. The world swam into focus slowly, like a photograph developing in reverse. She was lying on her back in the middle of the road, surrounded by a circle of faces that looked down at her with expressions ranging from concern to disgust. Her father knelt beside Derek, his weathered face pale in the moonlight. When their eyes met, Luna saw something that cut deeper than any physical wound: disappointment. Not grief, not fear for her life, but disappointment. Dad? The word came out as barely a whisper, her throat raw and damaged. Robert Martinez looked away. The ambulance is 5 minutes out, someone called from the edge of the group. Her spine, Derek said quietly, and Luna caught the clinical detachment in his voice. Can you smell it? The nerve damage. And her legs. He trailed off, but Luna didn't need him to finish. She could feel it too, or rather, she couldn't feel anything below her waist. Nothing but a terrifying void where her legs should have been. No, she breathed, the reality hitting her like a second impact. No, it'll heal. I can shift, I can. You can't shift with a severed spinal cord, Luna. Derek's voice was matter-of-fact, like he was discussing the weather. Even if the rest heals, you'll never run again. Never hunt. Never. His pause was weighted with meaning. Never carry healthy pups. The pack members exchanged glances. Luna caught the subtle communication passing between them, the tilted heads, the meaningful looks, the way they unconsciously stepped back from her broken form. She was defective now. Damaged goods. Derek, she whispered, her hand reaching toward him with desperate fingers. Please. The mating ceremony is in 3 weeks. We can postpone, give me time to heal. Derek caught her wrist, his grip firm but not gentle. When he looked down at her, his amber eyes held no warmth, no love, no recognition of the 3 years they'd spent together. He looked at her the way one might look at a rabid animal, with pity and revulsion. Luna Martinez, he said, his voice carrying the formal tone reserved for pack business. I, Derek Stone, future alpha of Silver Moon Pack, reject you as my mate. The words hit her like physical blows. Luna felt her wolf recoil deep inside her, whimpering as the magical bonds that had been slowly forming between them over the years snapped one by one. The pain was indescribable, worse than her shattered spine, worse than her crushed legs, worse than anything she'd ever imagined. No, she gasped, her body convulsing as the rejection tore through her system. Derek, please, you can't. I can and I have. His voice was steady, unmoved by her agony. You're no longer fit to be Luna of this pack. Hell, you're barely fit to be a pack member. Derek. Robert Martinez finally spoke, his voice sharp with what might have been reproach. What, Robert? Derek rounded on Luna's father, his eyes flashing with alpha authority. Are you going to tell me I'm wrong? Look at her. She'll be a burden on the pack for the rest of her life. Dead weight. And the bloodline. He shook his head in disgust. I won't pollute future generations with weak genetics. The ambulance sirens were getting closer, their wailing cry cutting through the night air. The humans will be here soon, Marcus said quietly. We need to decide what we're going to tell them. The truth, Derek replied. A young woman was hit by a truck. We happened to be passing by and stopped to help. We don't know her well. Luna's heart stopped. You're going to abandon me here? Luna. Her father's voice was heavy with something that might have been regret. You're no longer pack. The rejection. He gestured helplessly. It severs all ties. You're human now, for all intents and purposes. This is a human problem. I'm your daughter. The words came out as a scream, raw and desperate. Robert flinched but didn't back down. You were my daughter. But pack law is pack law. A rejected mate has no place among us. The ambulance rounded the corner, its lights painting everything in harsh red and blue. Derek stood, brushing off his knees with casual indifference. We were never here, he announced to the group. And if anyone asks, we've never seen this woman before in our lives. One by one, the pack members melted back into the forest, their forms disappearing between the trees like they'd never existed at all. Luna watched them go, each departure feeling like another small death. Her father was the last to leave. He hesitated for a moment, looking down at her with something that might have been love. Or might have been pity. I'm sorry, Luna, he whispered. But you brought this on yourself. If you hadn't been wandering around alone, if you'd stayed where you belonged. Then he too was gone, swallowed by the darkness that had birthed her and was now prepared to consume her. The paramedics arrived in a flurry of activity, their voices professional and urgent as they worked to stabilize her. Luna drifted in and out of consciousness as they loaded her into the ambulance, their hands gentle in a way that her packs had not been. Severe trauma to the lower extremities, one of them was saying into his radio. Possible spinal injury. We're looking at extensive surgery, maybe multiple procedures. Family? His partner asked. Luna tried to speak, tried to tell them about her father, about the pack, about Derek. But the words wouldn't come. What was the point? They'd made it clear, she had no family. No pack. No one. No ID, the first paramedic replied. No one at the scene knew her. No one at the scene knew her. The words echoed in Luna's mind as the morphine began to take hold. 3 years of her life, 22 years of being Robert Martinez's daughter, and she'd been erased as easily as chalk from a blackboard. The hospital was a blur of fluorescent lights and urgent voices. Surgery prep, anesthesia, the controlled chaos of a trauma center trying to piece together what was left of her body. Luna caught fragments of conversation as doctors discussed her case. Words like extensive nerve damage and unlikely to regain function and quality of life considerations. When she woke up, it was to the steady beep of machines and the antiseptic smell of a recovery room. Her body felt distant, disconnected, like she was wearing someone else's skin. A doctor with kind eyes and tired lines around his mouth sat beside her bed. Miss. He paused, consulting his chart. I'm sorry, we still don't have your name. Luna, she whispered, her throat raw from the breathing tube. Luna Martinez. Luna. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I'm Dr. Hendricks. I was the lead surgeon on your case. Luna didn't need to ask. She could see the answer in his face, in the way he held his shoulders, in the careful gentleness of his voice. My legs? We saved them, he said carefully. But Luna, the damage to your spinal cord, it's extensive. The likelihood of you walking again is. He paused, searching for the right words. Very small. She'd known. Of course she'd known. Derek's words had been a death sentence delivered with surgical precision. But hearing it confirmed by a medical professional made it real in a way that pack law and supernatural politics couldn't. How small? She asked, because she needed to know exactly how much of her life had been stolen from her on that dark road. Less than 5% chance of any sensation below your waist returning. I'm sorry, Luna. I know this isn't what you wanted to hear. Dr. Hendricks left her with promises of physical therapy and adaptive equipment and support groups for people in her situation. Luna stared at the ceiling tiles and tried to process the scope of her new reality. Paralyzed. Rejected. Abandoned. Alone. The heart monitor beside her bed began to beep faster as panic set in. What was she supposed to do now? She had no money, no insurance, no family to claim her. The pack would never take her back, Derek had made that abundantly clear. And as a rejected mate, her wolf was already beginning to withdraw, leaving her more human than supernatural. The beeping became more urgent. Luna's breathing grew shallow as the full weight of her situation crashed down on her. She was going to die here, alone and forgotten, in a sterile hospital room surrounded by machines that were probably worth more than her entire life. The monitor's alarm began to wail as her heart rhythm became erratic. Nurses rushed in, their voices urgent but distant as Luna felt herself slipping away. Maybe it was better this way. Maybe this was mercy. Her vision began to tunnel, darkness creeping in from the edges as her heart struggled to maintain its rhythm. The last thing she heard was the long, monotonous wail of the flatline alarm. Then everything went quiet. In that moment between life and death, Luna heard something impossible, the sound of heavy boots on linoleum, moving with predatory grace through the chaos of the emergency response. Not on my watch, growled a voice she didn't recognize, low and rough and edged with something that might have been fury. As everything faded to black, Luna's last conscious thought was wonder at who could sound so absolutely certain in the face of death itself. If you are enjoying this video, do well to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 3. Luna's first sensation upon waking wasn't pain, which was remarkable, considering she'd just died. Instead, it was warmth. Real warmth, the kind that seeps into your bones and makes you believe, for one drowsy moment, that everything might actually be okay. The second sensation was confusion. She wasn't in the hospital anymore. Gone were the sterile white walls and the steady beep of machines. Instead, she found herself in a bedroom that belonged in an architectural magazine, soaring timber ceilings, a stone fireplace crackling with real logs, and floor-to-ceiling windows that showcased a vista of snow-capped mountains under a star-drunk sky. Luna tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Her body felt like it had been disassembled and put back together by someone working from a faulty instruction manual. But she could move, actually move, which should have been impossible given what Dr. Hendricks had told her. Easy, came a voice from the shadows near the fireplace. You've been unconscious for 3 days. Your body is still remembering how to be alive. The voice was deep, rough around the edges like whiskey and smoke, and something about it made Luna's wolf stir with recognition. But that was impossible. Her wolf had been retreating ever since Derek's rejection, becoming fainter each day until she could barely sense the creature that had once been as much a part of her as breathing. A figure emerged from the shadows, and Luna's world tilted sideways for the second time in a week. He was tall, easily 6'4", with the kind of lean, predatory build that screamed danger to anyone with functioning survival instincts. Black hair fell across his forehead in unruly waves, and his eyes. God, his eyes were the color of winter storms, pale gray shot through with silver. He was beautiful in the way that natural disasters were beautiful, devastating and impossible to look away from. But it wasn't his physical presence that stole Luna's breath. It was the scar that ran from his left temple to his jaw, a twisted rope of white tissue that spoke of fire and pain and survival against impossible odds. "Hello, Luna," he said, and the soft way he spoke her name made her heart do something complicated in her chest. "It's been a long time." Luna's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. She knew that voice. Knew those eyes, even though they'd been warm brown instead of storm gray when she'd last seen them. Knew the way he tilted his head slightly to the left when he was thinking. Kai. The name fell from her lips like a prayer or a curse. But you died. 10 years ago. The fire. The fire that your pack set, you mean? His voice remained conversational, but Luna caught the razor edge beneath the casual tone. The fire that killed my parents, my sister, my grandmother? That fire? Luna's world shifted again, puzzle pieces rearranging themselves into a picture she didn't want to see. No. No, that's not, it was an accident. A gas leak. Everyone said. Everyone lied. Kai moved closer, his steps silent as a predator's. Just like they lied about a lot of things, apparently. Tell me, Luna, when did you find out that Derek never loved you? The question hit her like a physical blow. How do you? I was there. His eyes flashed with something that might have been fury. Outside the pack house when you overheard his little confession. I followed you to the road. I saw the truck hit you. His jaw clenched. I saw your precious pack abandon you like roadkill. Luna's mind reeled. You were there? Why didn't you help you sooner? Kai's laugh was bitter as winter wind. Because I wanted to see how far they'd go. I wanted to see if a single one of them would choose you over pack politics. He settled into the chair beside her bed, moving with fluid grace. They failed spectacularly, didn't they? But how are you alive? And how am I? Luna gestured vaguely at her body, which seemed to be functioning despite the doctor's dire prognosis. Magic, Kai said simply. The kind your pack would kill for, if they knew it existed. As for how I survived. He touched the scar on his face almost absently. Let's just say dying is easier than living through what comes after. Luna studied his face, looking for traces of the boy she'd once known. Kai Blackwood had been her best friend from ages 5 to 12, the quiet, serious boy who'd taught her to climb trees and catch fireflies and had always shared his lunch when she forgot hers. He'd been her constant companion until the night his family's house had burned to the ground with everyone inside. Or so everyone had believed. They told me you were dead, she whispered. I cried for weeks. I used to sneak out to leave flowers on the ashes of your house. Something flickered across Kai's expression, pain, maybe, or regret. I know. I saw you. You saw me? All this time, you've been alive, and you never. Never what, Luna? Never came back to the pack that murdered my family? Never revealed myself to the people who celebrated their deaths? His voice grew colder with each word. Never put you in danger by association? In danger from what? Kai stood abruptly, moving to the window. His reflection in the glass looked like something from a nightmare, beautiful and terrible and absolutely lethal. From me, he said quietly. From what I became after that night. Luna's wolf stirred again, stronger this time, and she finally understood why. Even diminished by rejection and trauma, her wolf recognized what Kai had become. The power rolling off him in waves wasn't just alpha authority, it was something darker, more primal. Something that made the air itself seem to thicken with potential violence. You're the rogue alpha, she breathed. The one the packs have been whispering about. The one who's been hunting them? Yes. Kai turned back to her, and for a moment, Luna saw the predator lurking just beneath his human facade. For 10 years, I've been systematically destroying everyone who had a hand in my family's murder. Would you like to know how many that is, Luna? She didn't want to know, but she asked anyway. How many? 43. His voice was matter-of-fact, like he was discussing grocery lists. 43 pack members who either participated directly or helped cover it up afterward. I've been very thorough. Luna's blood turned to ice water. Kai, what have you done? What needed to be done? He moved back to his chair, settling into it with predatory grace. Your father, for instance. Robert Martinez. He was there that night, did you know that? He helped douse the house with gasoline while my family slept inside. No. Luna shook her head violently. My father wouldn't. Your father has been sending me information for the past 5 years, Kai continued relentlessly. Names, locations, alibis. He's been quite helpful in tracking down the remaining targets. The world spun around Luna like a broken carousel. That's impossible. Why would he? Guilt? Kai suggested. Or maybe self-preservation. He knows what I am now, what I'm capable of. He knows that cooperation is the only thing keeping him breathing. Luna pressed her hands to her temples, trying to process information that refused to make sense. This is insane. You're talking about mass murder. I'm talking about justice. Kai's eyes flashed silver. Something your pack wouldn't recognize if it bit them on the ass. But 43 people, Kai. Even if what you're saying is true. If? His voice dropped to a whisper that somehow managed to fill the entire room. Luna, would you like to see the security footage from that night? The pack meeting where they planned it? The vote they took on whether my family deserved to live? Luna stared at him, this stranger wearing her childhood friend's face. What vote? The vote to eliminate the Blackwood line. Kai's smile was sharp enough to cut. We were getting too powerful, you see. My father was challenging the existing hierarchy, suggesting that maybe the alphas shouldn't have absolute authority over life and death. Dangerous thinking in a pack built on fear and submission. Who called for the vote? Derek's father. Kai watched her face carefully as he delivered the blow. Alpha Marcus Stone. The same man who's been grooming his son to rule through intimidation and violence. The same man who ordered your mother's death when she started asking too many questions about pack finances. Luna's world exploded into fragments. My mother died in a car accident. Your mother died because she discovered that the pack was selling information to hunters, Kai said gently. She was going to expose them. So they arranged an accident. The walls of the beautiful cabin suddenly felt like they were closing in. Luna couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process the scope of the betrayal being laid out before her. Why are you telling me this? She whispered. Because you deserve the truth. Because you were the only person in that pack who ever showed my family kindness. And because. He hesitated, and for a moment, she saw a glimpse of the boy she'd once known. Because I loved you, Luna. I've loved you since we were children, and seeing them destroy you the way they destroyed me, it ended any pretense of mercy I might have had left. Luna's heart clenched. Kai. There's something else. He stood again, pacing to the fireplace. Derek's father is still alive. He's the last name on my list, and I've been saving him for last. But after what happened to you, after watching his son follow in his footsteps. Kai turned back to her, and the expression on his face was absolutely terrifying. I've decided to accelerate my timeline. What does that mean? It means your precious pack has 3 days to surrender Marcus Stone, or I'll burn Silver Moon to the ground, starting with Derek. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Luna stared at Kai, this beautiful, broken man who'd once been the gentlest soul she'd ever known, and realized that the fire that had supposedly killed him had burned away everything soft and innocent and kind, leaving only vengeance in its wake. Kai, you can't. I can and I will. His voice was absolute, final as winter. Unless, of course, you'd like to try talking me out of it. The challenge in his words was unmistakable. Luna looked into those storm-gray eyes and saw the boy who'd once cried when she'd scraped her knee, who'd given her his jacket when she was cold, who'd promised they'd be friends forever. And she saw the monster that boy had become. If you are enjoying this video, do well to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 4. The journey to Old Marie's cottage took them deeper into the mountains than Luna had ever ventured, following paths that seemed to exist only when Kai was walking them. She rode in his arms, cradled against his chest with an intimacy that should have felt strange after 10 years apart. Instead, it felt like coming home. You don't have to do this, Luna said for the 3rd time as they approached a clearing where smoke curled lazily from a chimney that seemed to be built into the mountain itself. Yes, I do. Kai's voice rumbled through his chest, vibrating against her ear. I won't let you spend your life broken because of what they did to you. Luna wanted to argue, but the truth was that she was terrified. Not of Marie, though the witch's reputation was enough to make even alphas think twice about crossing her, but of the choice she might have to make. The ability to shift wasn't just about running on 4 legs or hunting in the moonlight. It was about being whole, being connected to something larger than herself. Losing it would be like losing a limb, or worse, losing her soul. The cottage appeared around a bend like something from a dark fairy tale. It was built into the living rock of the mountain, its walls a seamless blend of stone and timber that seemed to grow from the earth itself. Smoke rose from a chimney carved directly into the rock face, and windows glowed with warm amber light that somehow managed to look both welcoming and ominous. Marie. Kai called as they approached the front door, which was painted with symbols that made Luna's eyes water if she looked at them too directly. I've brought her. The door swung open before they reached it, revealing a woman who defied every expectation Luna had ever had about witches. Marie looked to be in her 40s, with steel-gray hair pulled back in a practical bun and intelligent brown eyes that seemed to see too much. She wore jeans and a flannel shirt that had seen better days, and if Luna had passed her on the street, she would have assumed she was someone's favorite aunt. Kai Blackwood, Marie said, her voice carrying a slight accent that Luna couldn't place. Right on time, as always. And this must be Luna Martinez. Her gaze shifted to Luna, and suddenly those warm brown eyes felt like they were looking straight through her. Child, you've been through hell. Something like that, Luna managed. Marie stepped aside, gesturing them into a cottage that was larger on the inside than should have been physically possible. The main room was dominated by a massive stone fireplace where something that definitely wasn't wood crackled and burned with flames that shifted from blue to green to silver. Herbs hung from every available surface, filling the air with a complex mixture of scents that made Luna's wolf stir restlessly. Set her down on the couch, Marie instructed, moving to a cabinet filled with bottles and jars that seemed to glow with their own inner light. I'll need to examine the damage before we discuss terms. Kai settled Luna carefully onto a couch that was surprisingly comfortable, his hands lingering on her shoulders in a way that made her pulse quicken. I'll be right here, he murmured, and Luna was struck by how gentle his voice became when he spoke to her. It was hard to reconcile this tender man with the predator who'd calmly discussed killing 43 people. Marie approached with a collection of bottles that clinked softly as she set them on the coffee table. May I? She asked, gesturing toward Luna's legs. Luna nodded, though she felt exposed as Marie's hands hovered just above her body, not quite touching but somehow sensing everything that was wrong. The witch's expression grew more serious as her examination continued. Severed spinal cord at L2, Marie murmured, more to herself than to her audience. Massive nerve damage, significant muscle atrophy already beginning. The human doctors did what they could, but... She shook her head. This is beyond conventional medicine. But you can fix it, Kai said. It wasn't a question. I can, Marie agreed. But the price. Name it, Kai interrupted. Whatever you want, it's yours. Marie's eyes flicked between them, and Luna caught something that might have been amusement in her expression. It's not what I want, boy. Magic always demands a price, and the price is always paid by the one receiving the benefit. Luna's stomach clenched. What kind of price? Your wolf, Marie said simply. I can heal your body, restore full function to your legs, even enhance your physical capabilities beyond normal human parameters. But the magic required will burn out your shifter abilities permanently. You'll be able to walk, run, dance, but you'll never shift again. Never feel your wolf's consciousness. Never be anything more than human. The words hit Luna like a physical blow. She'd expected something difficult, but this was asking her to choose between 2 different kinds of paralysis. There has to be another way, Kai said, his voice tight with something that might have been panic. There is, Marie replied. She can remain as she is, spend her life in a wheelchair, but keep her wolf. The choice is hers to make. Luna stared at the fire, watching the impossible flames dance and shift. Her wolf was already fading, weakened by Derek's rejection and the trauma of the past few days. How long before it disappeared entirely anyway? How long do I have to decide? She asked. The magic is most effective when performed within a week of the original injury, Marie said gently. After that, the chances of success drop significantly. Kai moved to kneel beside the couch, taking Luna's hands in his. Luna, you don't have to decide right now. We can. I want to do it, Luna said quietly. What? Kai's grip on her hands tightened. Luna, no. Your wolf is part of who you are. Without it, I'll still be me, Luna said, meeting his eyes. Just, different. But with these useless legs, I'm not really anything at all. That's not true. Isn't it? Luna pulled one hand free to touch his face, tracing the scar that marked him as a survivor. Kai, I've lost everything. My pack, my family, my mate. My wolf is all I have left, and it's dying anyway. At least this way, I get something in return. Kai's eyes searched her face desperately. Luna, I need you to understand something before you make this choice. He took a shaky breath. I love you. I've loved you since we were children, and I never stopped. Even when I thought I'd lost you forever, even when revenge was the only thing keeping me alive, you were always there in the back of my mind. Luna's heart stuttered. Kai. I know you probably can't feel the same way, he continued, the words tumbling out like he'd been holding them back for years. I know I'm not the same person you knew, that I've done terrible things. But if there's any chance, any possibility that you could love me back, then I want you to know that I don't care if you can shift or not. I love you, Luna Martinez. All of you. Exactly as you are. Luna stared at him, this beautiful, broken man who'd somehow managed to find her in her darkest hour. The boy she'd loved as a child had grown into someone she might love as a woman, if she was brave enough to try. Kai, How touching, Marie interrupted, though her voice carried genuine warmth. But there's something else you both need to know before any declarations of love are made. Something in the witch's tone made Luna's blood run cold. What? Marie settled into the chair across from them, her expression grave. Robert Martinez didn't just help murder Kai's family, Luna. He's the one who set the fire. The world tilted sideways. That's impossible. Is it? Marie reached for one of her bottles, uncorking it to release a scent like burning cedar. Your father has been my informant inside Silver Moon Pack for 8 years now. Ever since Kai survived and found his way to my door, half dead and burning with the need for revenge. Luna looked between them, her mind struggling to process this new betrayal. My father is working with you? Working for me, Marie corrected. He feeds information to Kai through me. Pack movements, security arrangements, the location of targets. She paused, watching Luna's face carefully. He's been instrumental in Kai's success. But why? Luna whispered. Why would he help kill his own pack members? Guilt, Kai said quietly. He never wanted to do it in the first place. Marcus Stone ordered him to set the fire, threatened to expose some financial irregularities if he refused. Your father was embezzling pack funds to pay for your mother's medical bills before she died. Luna felt like she was drowning in revelations, each one dragging her further from the surface. So he's been atoning by helping you murder people? He's been trying to balance the scales, Marie said. Though I suspect his cooperation has more to do with protecting you than achieving justice. Protecting me from what? From Kai, Marie said simply. Your father knows what happens to people who cross the rogue alpha. He's been hoping that by helping, he could keep you safe when the reckoning finally came. Before Luna could respond, a sound reached her sensitive hearing, the distant rumble of engines, growing closer. Marie's head snapped up, her nostrils flaring. Wolves, she said, rising from her chair with fluid grace. A hunting party, by the smell of them. Kai was on his feet instantly, moving to the window with predatory speed. How many? 8, Marie replied, already moving toward her cabinet of potions. armed with silver weapons and burning for a fight. Derek, Kai growled, his eyes flashing with dangerous light. That arrogant little pup thinks he can. The sound of vehicles stopping outside cut him off. Through the window, Luna could see the gleam of headlights and the silhouettes of armed figures spreading out to surround the cottage. Kai Blackwood. Derek's voice carried clearly through the mountain air, amplified by alpha authority. I know you're in there. Come out and face me, you coward. Kai's smile was sharp as a blade. With pleasure. If you are enjoying this video, do well to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 5. The cottage door exploded inward in a shower of splinters and ancient wood, the protective wards Marie had woven into its frame crackling like lightning as they shattered. Derek Stone stepped through the wreckage with the casual arrogance of a man who'd never faced real consequences for his actions. He looked exactly the same as he had 3 days ago, golden hair perfectly styled, amber eyes blazing with alpha authority, his expensive clothes somehow managing to look pristine despite the mountain trek. But there was something different about him now, something darker lurking beneath his pretty boy facade. Well, Derek drawled, his gaze sweeping the cottage before settling on Luna. Look what the rogue alpha dragged in from the gutter. 7 pack members flanked him, all armed with weapons that gleamed with the telltale sheen of silver. Luna recognized most of them, men she'd grown up with, men who'd celebrated her engagement, men who'd watched her bleed on the asphalt without lifting a finger to help. Derek. Kai's voice was conversational, almost friendly, but Luna could feel the violence radiating from him like heat from a forge. I have to say, I'm disappointed. I gave your pack 3 days to surrender your father. It's only been 6 hours. Change of plans, Derek replied, raising the silver-loaded rifle in his hands. See, I realized something after our little encounter on the road. You've been playing a very long game, haven't you? All those pack members who've gone missing over the years, all those accidents and random attacks, that was you. Guilty as charged. Kai stepped protectively in front of Luna, his body coiled like a spring. Though I prefer to think of it as house cleaning. Derek's smile was sharp as broken glass. And Luna here was your way in, wasn't she? Sweet, innocent Luna, always asking the wrong questions, always poking her nose where it didn't belong. Did you turn her against us, or was she a willing accomplice all along? Derek, what are you talking about? Luna struggled to sit up straighter, her mind reeling from the accusation. I didn't even know Kai was alive until 3 days ago. Bullshit. Derek's eyes flashed with genuine fury. You think I'm stupid? You think I didn't notice you've been asking questions about your mother lately? About pack finances? About things that happened before you were born? Luna's blood turned to ice. She had been asking questions, carefully, subtly, but apparently not subtly enough. I was just curious. Curious enough to meet with Dr. Sarah Chen at the county medical examiner's office, Derek continued relentlessly. Curious enough to request your mother's autopsy report. Curious enough to start digging into records that should have stayed buried. The world spun around Luna like a broken compass. How do you know about? Because I've been watching you, Luna. 4 months. Ever since you started acting strange, asking the wrong people the wrong questions. Derek's smile turned predatory. Did you really think you could investigate your mother's murder without anyone noticing? Marie hissed from somewhere behind them, a sound that was purely feline and entirely threatening. You arrogant little boy. Do you have any idea what you've just walked into? A witch's hovel, Derek replied without taking his eyes off Kai. Nothing I can't handle. Kai laughed, a sound like winter wind through dead trees. You couldn't handle a human girl asking questions about her dead mother. What makes you think you can handle me? Because unlike my father, I don't underestimate my enemies. Derek raised his rifle, the silver bullet in the chamber gleaming like a star. I know exactly what you are, Kai Blackwood. And I know exactly how to kill you. Derek, stop. Luna tried to push herself off the couch, but her useless legs betrayed her. This isn't about me, it's about your father. He's the one who... Who what? Who eliminated a threat to pack security? Who made the hard choices that weak leaders avoid? Derek's voice rose with each word. My father did what was necessary to protect our pack from your boyfriend's family of freaks. Kai moved so fast that Luna barely saw him blur across the room. One moment he was standing in front of her, the next his hand was wrapped around Derek's throat, lifting the younger alpha off his feet with supernatural strength. Freak. Kai's voice had dropped to a whisper that somehow filled the entire cottage. Is that what you call a 5-year-old girl who burned to death in her bed? A grandmother who tried to shield her granddaughter with her own body? Derek struggled against Kai's grip, his face turning red as his airway closed. They were dangerous. They were innocent. Kai's eyes began to glow with an inner light that was definitely not human. Just like Luna was innocent when you arranged her little accident. The words hit Luna like a physical blow. What? Derek's pack members raised their weapons, but none of them dared fire with their future alpha in Kai's grasp. The rogue alpha smiled at their predicament, his canines extending into something that belonged in a nightmare. Oh, you didn't know? Kai asked, his voice dripping with mock sympathy. Your beloved fiancé orchestrated your meeting with that truck. He's been planning to get rid of you for months, ever since you started getting too close to the truth about Mommy's death. That's impossible, Luna whispered, but even as she said it, she knew it wasn't. The truck had been going too fast for that stretch of road. The driver had seemed more shocked than grief-stricken. And Derek had found her so quickly after the impact. The driver was one of ours, Derek rasped through Kai's grip. Owed the pack money. Simple quid pro quo, kill the nosy bitch, and his debts disappear. Luna felt something fracture inside her chest, something deeper than heartbreak. The accident hadn't been random. Her own fiancé had tried to murder her because she'd been asking questions about her mother. Why? The word came out as barely a whisper. Derek managed a strangled laugh. Because you were getting too close to the truth about what really happened 22 years ago. About why your mother really died. About who you really are. Derek. A new voice cut through the tension like a blade, familiar, weary, thick with an emotion Luna couldn't identify. That's enough. Robert Martinez stepped through the shattered doorway, his weathered face pale in the firelight. He looked older than Luna had ever seen him, as if the weight of decades had suddenly settled on his shoulders. Dad? Luna's voice broke on the word. What are you doing here? What I should have done years ago, Robert replied, his eyes fixed on Derek with something that might have been hatred. Stopping this before it goes any further. Robert, Kai said without releasing his grip on Derek. How nice of you to join us. I was just explaining to your daughter how her fiancé tried to kill her. I know. Robert's voice was heavy with shame. I've known since the night it happened. Derek's been bragging about it to anyone who'll listen. Luna stared at her father, the man who'd raised her, who'd taught her to ride a bike and helped her with homework and walked her down the aisle at pack ceremonies. You knew he tried to kill me, and you didn't tell me? Luna, there's so much you don't understand. Then explain it. The words came out as a scream, raw with betrayal and pain. Explain why the man I thought was my father has been working with a serial killer. Explain why my fiancé tried to murder me. Explain why everyone I've ever trusted has been lying to my face. Robert flinched as if she'd struck him. Because you're not my daughter. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Luna felt the world tilt sideways, her grip on reality slipping like sand through her fingers. What? Biologically, you're not mine, Robert continued, his voice barely audible. Your mother. Elena, she was pregnant when she arrived at Silver Moon. Pregnant with another alpha's child. A very powerful alpha who'd been killed by hunters. Luna's mind reeled. That's impossible. You're my father. You raised me. I loved you, Robert said fiercely. From the moment Elena placed you in my arms, I loved you like you were my own blood. But Marcus Stone found out the truth when you turned 5 and your powers started manifesting. What powers? Luna whispered. You could hear thoughts, Robert said. Could sense emotions from across the pack grounds. Could influence other wolves without even trying. You were showing signs of being something unprecedented, a true alpha female with psychic abilities. Kai's grip on Derek loosened slightly, his attention caught by this revelation. That's why they killed Elena. Not because she was asking questions about pack finances. Elena discovered that Marcus was planning to eliminate you, Robert confirmed. A female alpha was bad enough, but one with psychic powers? She would have threatened the entire hierarchy. So Elena started planning to run, to take you somewhere safe. But Marcus found out, Luna breathed. And arranged her accident, Robert finished. Made it look like she'd been drinking, driving too fast on a mountain road. Elena Martinez died in a car wreck when you were 18 months old, and I've been trying to atone for my cowardice ever since. Luna felt like she was drowning in revelations, each one dragging her further from everything she'd thought she knew about herself. So you've been helping Kai kill pack members because they murdered your real mother and would have murdered you too if they'd known what you were capable of, Robert said. I've been feeding information to Kai through Marie for 8 years, helping him eliminate the wolves who pose a threat to you. Including Derek's father, Kai added, his voice deadly quiet. Including Derek's father, Robert confirmed. The man who's been planning your death since you were a toddler. Derek suddenly moved, taking advantage of Kai's momentary distraction to break free and raise his rifle. Enough. The silver bullet left the chamber with a sound like thunder, aimed directly at Kai's heart. Time slowed to a crawl as Luna watched death streak toward the man she was only beginning to realize she loved. Without thinking, without hesitation, without any consideration for her own safety, Luna threw herself from the couch. The silver bullet meant for Kai's heart buried itself in her chest instead. Pain exploded through her body like liquid fire, burning through her veins and setting every nerve ending ablaze. She hit the floor hard, her useless legs unable to cushion the fall, blood spreading across her shirt in a widening crimson stain. Luna! Kai's roar shook the cottage to its foundations. Through the haze of agony, Luna saw Derek's face, shock, horror, and something that might have been regret warring in his amber eyes. I didn't mean, you weren't supposed to. You shot her, Kai whispered, his voice so quiet it was barely audible. You shot her. Luna tried to speak, tried to tell him she was okay, but blood filled her mouth instead of words. The silver was burning through her system like acid, and she could feel her life ebbing away with each heartbeat. Kai knelt beside her, his hands hovering over the wound as if he could somehow hold her life in place through sheer will. Marie. Do something. I can't, the witch replied, her voice thick with genuine sorrow. Silver poisoning this severe, there's nothing I can do. Luna looked up at Kai's face and saw something terrible happening. His storm-gray eyes were bleeding to black, not just the irises but the whites as well, until his entire gaze was the color of absolute darkness. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees, and she could see her breath misting in the suddenly frigid air. Kai, she whispered, tasting copper and desperation. Don't. But it was too late. Something primal and vast and utterly inhuman was rising behind Kai's eyes, something that had been held in check by will and love and the last remnants of his humanity. When he spoke, his voice carried harmonics that human throats weren't designed to produce. You want a war? You've got one. If you are enjoying this video, do well to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 6. The transformation that overtook Kai wasn't a shift into wolf form, it was something far more terrifying. His human facade simply fell away like a discarded mask, revealing the apex predator that had been lurking beneath civilized skin for 10 years. The first pack member died before he could even scream. Kai moved with inhuman speed, crossing the cottage in a blur of shadow and violence. His claws, longer and sharper than any wolf's, tore through the man's throat in a spray of arterial blood that painted the cottage walls crimson. The silver weapon clattered uselessly to the floor as its wielder collapsed in a spreading pool of his own life. Run, Derek whispered, his face white with terror as he finally understood what he'd unleashed. His remaining pack members didn't need to be told twice. They bolted for the shattered doorway, but Kai was faster, hungrier, and absolutely merciless. He caught the second man before he'd taken 3 steps, his jaws, now elongated into something that belonged in nightmares, clamping down on the wolf's spine with a wet crunch that echoed through the mountain air. "Marie." Robert's voice was desperate as he knelt beside Luna's bleeding form. "You have to do something." The witch was already moving, her hands weaving patterns in the air that left trails of silver light. "I'm trying," she snapped, bottles flying off shelves to arrange themselves around Luna's prone body. "But the silver is spreading too fast." Luna felt like she was drowning in molten metal. The bullet in her chest burned with supernatural fire, and she could feel the silver poisoning spreading through her bloodstream like liquid death. But worse than the physical agony was watching Kai become the monster she'd always known he could be. The third pack member made it to the door before Kai's claws found his back, tearing through flesh and bone like paper. The man's scream cut off abruptly as Kai's teeth found his jugular, and Luna caught a glimpse of Kai's face in the firelight, no longer human, no longer recognizable, just a creature of pure rage and hunger. "Stop him," Luna gasped, blood frothing on her lips. "Please, someone stop him." But no one could stop Kai now. The beast that had been caged for 10 years was finally free, and it had a decade of suppressed violence to make up for. Derek pressed himself against the cottage wall, his rifle useless against something that moved faster than his human reflexes could track. "Kai, please. I surrender. Kai's head snapped toward Derek with predatory focus, his black eyes reflecting the firelight like obsidian mirrors. When he spoke, his voice carried harmonics that made the cottage windows vibrate in their frames. "Surrender?" The word was barely recognizable, distorted by fangs that had grown too large for human speech. "You shot her. You tried to kill her twice. Surrender is no longer an option." Derek raised his rifle with shaking hands, but Kai was already moving. The weapon exploded into splinters as Kai's claws raked across it, and Derek found himself pinned against the wall with supernatural strength wrapped around his throat. "Please," Derek choked out. "I was following orders. My father." "Your father dies tonight," Kai promised, his grip tightening until Derek's feet left the floor. "But first, I'm going to make you watch as I tear apart everything you've ever loved." "Kai." Marie's voice cut through the violence like a blade. "If you kill him now, you'll never find Marcus. He's already running." Kai's head turned toward the witch, and for a moment, Luna thought she saw a flicker of the man she'd known beneath the monster's mask. "What do you mean?" The moment Derek left for this little hunting expedition, Marcus Stone fled Silver Moon Pack, Marie said, her hands never stopping their intricate weaving above Luna's body. "He's in the wind, probably halfway to Canada by now." "Then I'll hunt him down," Kai growled. "I'll track him across continents if I have to." "And meanwhile, Luna dies," Marie said flatly. "Because that's what this silver poisoning will do, kill her, slowly and painfully, while you're off playing predator." The words hit Kai like a physical blow. His grip on Derek loosened, and Luna saw his terrible black gaze snap to her face. For a heartbeat, she saw past the monster to the boy who'd once cried when she skinned her knee. "Save her," he whispered. "I'm trying." Marie's voice was strained with effort. "But the magic required, it's changing her. The silver is burning away her wolf, but something else is taking its place." Luna could feel it too, something foreign and vast and impossibly ancient stirring in her bloodstream where the silver touched. It didn't feel like death. It felt like transformation. "What kind of something else?" Robert demanded. "I don't know," Marie admitted. "I've never seen anything like this. The silver should be killing her, but instead it's awakening something." Derek, still pinned against the wall, laughed bitterly. "You want to know what she is? Ask your precious informant. He's known all along." All eyes turned to Robert, who looked like he'd aged another decade in the past hour. "Elena wasn't just carrying another Alpha's child when she came to Silver Moon," he said quietly. "She was carrying the child of Aurelius Blackthorn." Marie's hands stilled in their weaving. "That's impossible." The Blackthorn line died out 3 centuries ago. Apparently not, Robert replied. Aurelius survived the purge, went into hiding, lived as a human for decades. Elena was his mate, his true mate, and when the hunters found them, they killed him but not her, Kai finished, his voice still distorted but no longer quite as inhuman. Because she was already pregnant with his child. Luna tried to process this revelation, but the fire in her veins was making it hard to think clearly. What does that mean? What was he? The last of the old bloodlines, Marie breathed. The wolves who could do more than just shift. The ones who could manipulate reality itself. A witch-wolf hybrid, Robert confirmed. The kind of power that hasn't been seen since the Dark Ages. The kind of power that could reshape the supernatural world. Luna felt something shift inside her chest, something that had nothing to do with the silver bullet lodged near her heart. The fire in her veins was spreading, but it no longer felt like death. It felt like awakening. The silver isn't killing her, Marie realized, her voice filled with wonder and terror. It's burning away everything human, everything ordinary, leaving only the old power behind. Kai finally released Derek, who collapsed to the floor gasping for air. How long? Kai demanded. Hours, maybe less, Marie replied. And when the transformation is complete? I'll be something new, Luna whispered, understanding flooding through her like cold water. Something that's never existed before. Derek struggled to his feet, his face a mask of desperate fury. This ends now, he snarled, pulling a silver knife from his boot. I won't let you freaks destroy everything my family built. He lunged at Luna's prone form, the blade aimed at her heart. But Kai was faster, his claws catching Derek's wrist and snapping it with casual ease. The knife clattered away across the stone floor. You just made your last mistake, Kai said, his voice returning to its normal register but somehow more terrifying for its quiet certainty. Then he was gone, moving with inhuman speed toward the cottage door. Luna tried to call after him, but her voice was lost in the sound of her own heartbeat, which was growing louder and more irregular with each passing moment. Where is he going? She managed to ask. To finish what your fiancé started, Robert said grimly. Silver Moon Pack won't survive the night. 3 hours later, at the Silver Moon Pack house. The assault began at midnight, under a blood-red moon that seemed to approve of the violence being unleashed below. Kai came through the forest like a force of nature, his inhuman roar echoing across the pack lands and striking terror into every supernatural heart within a 10-mile radius. The first line of defense, 12 armed guards posted around the pack house perimeter, died before they could raise an alarm. Kai moved through them like smoke and shadow, his claws and fangs finding their marks with surgical precision. No shots were fired. No warnings were given. There was only silence and spreading pools of blood soaking into the earth. Marcus Stone had barricaded himself in the pack house's reinforced safe room, surrounded by his most loyal fighters and enough silver ammunition to kill a small army. But Luna had been right, Kai showed no mercy. The front door exploded inward in a shower of splinters and twisted metal. Pack members poured out of side rooms and stairwells, silver weapons blazing, but their bullets passed through empty air where Kai had been a split second before. He was everywhere and nowhere, a nightmare given form and purpose. Claws raked across throats. Fangs found jugulars. The beautiful hardwood floors of the pack house became slick with blood and worse things. Fall back. Marcus's voice boomed through the house's intercom system. Protect the safe room. Don't let him. The transmission cut off in a burst of static and screaming. Derek, his broken wrist roughly splinted, stood in the main hall surrounded by the last 6 pack defenders. They'd made a desperate call an hour ago, breaking the oldest law in the supernatural world. Where are they? One of the guards asked, his voice tight with panic as inhuman howls echoed through the house. They'll be here, Derek said, though his own voice shook with uncertainty. They promised. The windows exploded inward in a shower of glass and silver bullets. Dark shapes poured through the openings, men and women dressed in tactical gear, their faces hidden behind masks that reflected the emergency lighting like mirrors. Their weapons gleamed with more than silver, they were loaded with blessed ammunition, stakes carved from sacred wood, and other tools designed to kill things that should already be dead. Vampire hunters. The boogeyman of the supernatural world, humans who dedicated their lives to exterminating anything with fangs, claws, or the ability to shift. Their very presence in pack territory was a declaration of war against every supernatural creature in North America. "You brought hunters here," one of Derek's own pack members stared at him in horror. "Derek, do you realize what you've done?" "What I had to do to stop that monster," Derek snarled back. The lead hunter pulled off her mask, revealing a face that belonged on magazine covers rather than a battlefield. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and a smile that promised death to anything inhuman. "Helena Cross," she introduced herself to Derek. "We got your message. One rogue alpha, supernatural strength, estimated threat level 10? "That's right," Derek confirmed. "Can you stop him?" Helena's smile widened, revealing teeth that had been filed to points. "Honey, we specialize in stopping things that think they can't be stopped." As if summoned by her words, the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a second later, bathing the hall in hellish red light that made everything look like a scene from the apocalypse. Then Kai's voice echoed through the house, no longer entirely human but still recognizable. "Marcus. Time to pay for your sins." The sound of splintering wood came from above as something massive crashed through the ceiling. Plaster dust rained down like snow, and in the settling debris, two eyes burned like stars in the darkness. Helena raised her weapon, some kind of modified crossbow that hummed with electrical energy. Target acquired. But before she could fire, before Derek could shout a warning, before any of them could react, the front door opened one more time. Luna stepped through the doorway, but she was no longer the broken woman who'd been dying on Marie's cottage floor 3 hours ago. Her feet didn't touch the ground, she floated 3 feet above the blood-soaked hardwood, her body surrounded by a nimbus of golden light that made the emergency lighting look dim by comparison. Her eyes were pure gold, no whites visible, and when she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that made the windows vibrate. Enough. If you are enjoying this video, do well to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 7. The word fell from Luna's lips like a divine commandment, and reality bent to obey. Every person in the pack house froze mid-motion, Derek with his mouth open in a half-formed scream, Helena Cross with her finger on the trigger of her supernatural crossbow, pack members caught between flight and fight. Even Kai, suspended in his descent through the shattered ceiling, hung motionless in the air like a deadly sculpture carved from shadow and rage. Only their eyes could move, wide with terror as they found themselves prisoners in their own bodies. Luna drifted further into the hall, her feet still hovering above the blood-soaked floor. The golden light radiating from her skin pulsed in rhythm with something that might once have been her heartbeat, but the sound that echoed through the frozen tableau was more like the tolling of a great bell. "Fascinating," she murmured, her voice layered with harmonics that human throats weren't designed to produce. "All this violence, all this hatred, and for what? Revenge? Territory? Pride?" She turned toward Derek, studying his paralyzed form with detached curiosity. "You tried to kill me twice, Derek Stone. Once with a truck, once with a silver bullet. Both times because I was getting too close to truths you wanted buried." Derek's eyes bulged with the effort of trying to speak, to move, to break free from the invisible bonds holding him. Luna smiled, and the expression was beautiful and terrible in equal measure. "What's wrong?" she asked with mock concern. "Don't you like being helpless? Don't you enjoy having your choices taken away?" Her head tilted at an angle that was just wrong enough to be disturbing. "Now you know how I felt when you rejected me. When you abandoned me. When you left me to die alone." The golden light around her flared brighter, and several of the frozen figures began to show signs of strain, veins bulging in their foreheads, sweat beading on their skin despite their inability to move. "Luna." Kai's voice was barely a whisper, but somehow it cut through the supernatural silence like a blade. "Let them go." Her head swiveled toward him with predatory grace. For a moment, looking at his suspended form, her expression softened into something that might have been love. "Kai. My beautiful, broken Kai. You came to save me. I did save you, he said carefully. But this isn't you. Isn't it? Luna laughed, and the sound was like breaking crystal. This is what I was always meant to become. What I was bred to become. The blood of Aurelius Blackthorn flows in my veins, awakened by silver and sorrow and betrayal. She gestured vaguely at the frozen tableau around them. These people destroyed my mother. They destroyed your family. They've spent decades lying, scheming, murdering anyone who threatened their comfortable little hierarchy. Her eyes blazed brighter. Now they get to experience true powerlessness. Luna, please. Kai's voice carried a desperation she'd never heard from him before. You're losing yourself. This power, it's consuming you. Consuming me? Luna's expression shifted to something alien and amused. Or revealing who I truly am? For the first time in my life, I'm not weak. I'm not helpless. I'm not at anyone's mercy. She floated closer to Derek, her golden aura making his skin look sickly and pale. I could kill you right now, Derek. Snap your neck with a thought. Burn you from the inside out. Make you suffer the way you made me suffer. Derek's eyes were wide with terror, tears streaming down his immobilized face. But that would be too quick, Luna continued thoughtfully. Too merciful. Instead, I think I'll leave you like this, conscious but paralyzed, aware but helpless. Let you spend eternity understanding what it feels like to be trapped in a body that won't obey you. Luna, no. Kai struggled against the invisible bonds holding him. This isn't justice, it's torture. And what would you call what they did to us? Luna whirled on him, her fury making the air itself shimmer with heat. What would you call 10 years of your life spent hunting down the people who murdered your family? What would you call Derek's plan to kill me because I asked too many questions? I call it enough, came a new voice from the doorway. Marie stepped into the hall, seemingly unaffected by the magical paralysis that held everyone else. She moved with casual confidence, her weathered face wearing an expression of satisfied calculation that made Luna's golden light flicker. Marie? Luna's voice carried a note of confusion. How are you? Not affected by your power? The witch smiled, and it wasn't the warm expression Luna remembered from the cottage. It was cold, predatory, ancient. Because this was always my plan, child. Every moment, every choice, every tragedy that brought you to this point, I orchestrated all of it. The golden light around Luna wavered as shock replaced fury. What are you talking about? 300 years ago, I made a bargain with forces older than civilization, Marie said, circling Luna like a shark scenting blood. Power beyond imagining in exchange for a price that seemed reasonable at the time, immortality, but with a catch. Every century, I needed to find a suitable replacement. Someone to take on the burden of the curse while I moved on to a new life. Luna's feet touched the ground for the first time since entering the pack house, her concentration shattered by this revelation. You're saying... I'm saying I've been planning your transformation since before you were born, Marie continued relentlessly. Elena didn't flee to Silver Moon Pack by accident. I sent her there, pregnant with Aurelius's child, knowing that the combination of his bloodline and the right traumatic catalyst would create exactly what I needed. The paralysis holding the others began to waver as Luna's emotional state destabilized her power. Several pack members drew shuddering breaths, their bodies trembling as control slowly returned. The fire that killed Kai's family? Marie gestured casually toward where Kai hung suspended. I suggested the idea to Marcus Stone during one of our private conversations. The rejection and abandonment you suffered? I made sure Derek overheard exactly the right rumors about your parentage at exactly the right time. You manipulated everything, Luna whispered, horror replacing rage. My mother's death, Kai's family, Derek's betrayal, all of it was just choreography. A 300-year-long dance, Marie agreed. And now it's time for the final steps. You've become exactly what I need, a hybrid creature with the power to break dimensional barriers. All that's left is for you to take my place, and I'll finally be free. Kai crashed to the floor as Luna's control shattered completely, his impact sending up a spray of blood and debris. The other frozen figures stumbled and gasped as their paralysis broke, but none of them moved to attack. They could all sense the cosmic forces at work here, power that made their petty pack politics seem insignificant. "I won't do it," Luna said, golden light still radiating from her skin but flickering now like a candle in a strong wind. "I won't be your replacement." "Oh, but you will," Marie replied with serene confidence. "Because the alternative is watching everyone you've ever cared about die slowly and painfully. The curse doesn't just affect me, you see. It reaches out, touches everyone connected to the potential replacement. Right now, every person in this room is beginning to feel its effects." As if summoned by her words, Derek gasped and doubled over, black veins beginning to spread across his skin like ink in water. The vampire hunters clutched their weapons uselessly as the same corruption began to claim them. Even the pack members who'd never done Luna any direct harm started showing signs of supernatural decay. "Stop it," Luna commanded, but her voice lacked its earlier authority. "I can't," Marie said with mock regret. "Only the willing acceptance of a replacement can halt the curse once it's been activated. Choose quickly, child, their deaths will be neither quick nor pleasant." Luna looked around the hall at the faces of people who'd betrayed her, abandoned her, tried to kill her. She should have felt satisfaction watching them suffer. Should have felt vindicated seeing Derek writhe in agony as the curse ate at his soul. Instead, she felt only emptiness. "There's another way," Kai said, struggling to his feet despite his injuries. "Luna, the power you have, you could break the curse entirely. Free everyone, including Marie." "Impossible," Marie snapped, her serene mask slipping for the first time. "The curse is bound by laws older than laws," Luna finished, understanding flooding through her like cold water. "But not older than choice. Not older than sacrifice." She looked at her hands, still glowing with golden light, and felt the vast power coiled within her like a sleeping dragon. Power to reshape reality, to break any chain, to free any prisoner. But using it that way would burn her out completely, leaving her human and powerless forever. "Luna, no," Kai breathed, reading her intention in her expression. "Don't sacrifice yourself for them. They don't deserve it." "Maybe not," Luna agreed. "But I do. I deserve to be better than what they made me." The golden light around her began to pulse faster, brighter, as she gathered every thread of power at her command. Marie's eyes widened with alarm as she realized what was happening. "If you do this, you'll lose everything," the witch snarled. "Your power, your abilities, your connection to the supernatural world. You'll be nothing but human." Luna smiled, and for the first time since her transformation, the expression was entirely her own. "Then I'll be free." She raised her hands, golden light streaming between her fingers like liquid starlight. The choice was hers to make, revenge or redemption, power or peace, the monster she could become or the woman she chose to be. The fate of everyone in the room, and her own destiny, balanced on the edge of a single decision. If you are enjoying this video, do well to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Chapter 8. The golden light that poured from Luna's hands wasn't the blazing fire of destruction, it was something softer, warmer, like sunlight filtered through stained glass. It flowed through the pack house like water, touching every soul present with gentle fingers that healed rather than harmed. The black veins of Marie's curse dissolved under that light, pain fled from broken bodies, and for one perfect moment, every person in that blood-soaked hall felt what it was like to be truly whole. Then the light began to fade. Luna felt it first, the vast power that had remade her draining away like water through a sieve. The golden glow around her skin dimmed, flickered, and finally winked out like a candle in the wind. Her feet settled firmly on the ground for the first time in hours, and the weight of ordinary gravity felt strange after floating free. "It's done," she whispered, and her voice was purely human now, no supernatural harmonics, no otherworldly authority. Just a 22-year-old woman who had given up godhood to save people who'd never deserved her mercy. Marie stood frozen in the center of the hall, her ageless face cycling through expressions of rage, disbelief, and something that might have been terror. "What have you done?" she breathed. The curse is broken, Luna confirmed, swaying on her feet as exhaustion crashed over her like a wave. Completely. Forever. You're free, Marie. You're also mortal again. I'd guess you have maybe 70 years left, if you take care of yourself. The witch's hands flew to her face, feeling for changes that wouldn't be visible for months or years. You don't understand what you've cost me. I understand exactly what I've cost you, Luna interrupted. 300 years of stolen time. But I've also given you something you forgot how to value, a natural lifespan, lived on your own terms, without anyone else's suffering to sustain it. Marie opened her mouth to argue, then seemed to deflate like a punctured balloon. When she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of centuries. I suppose I should thank you. No need. Luna managed a tired smile. Just try to make your remaining years count for something good. Derek struggled to his feet from where the curse had driven him to his knees, his face a mask of confusion and something that might have been grudging respect. Luna, what you did saved your miserable life, Kai said flatly, moving to stand beside Luna. His own supernatural aura had dimmed significantly, not gone, but muted, like he was actively suppressing it. The question is what you plan to do with it. Derek looked around the hall at his pack members, the vampire hunters who were quietly gathering their weapons and preparing to leave, the blood still staining his family's floors. When his gaze finally returned to Luna, she saw something she'd never expected to see in Derek Stone's eyes: humility. I don't know, he admitted. I've spent so long following my father's example, believing that strength meant never showing weakness, that admitting mistakes was the same as surrender. He gestured helplessly at the destruction around them. Look how well that worked out. Strength, Luna said quietly, is choosing mercy when you have the power to choose revenge. It's admitting when you're wrong and trying to do better. She paused, looking at Kai. It's knowing when to walk away from a fight, even when you think you can win. Something passed between them in that moment, an understanding that cut deeper than words. Kai's jaw tightened, and Luna saw the exact moment he made his decision. Luna, he began. I know, she said softly. I can see it in your face. You're leaving. I have to. His voice was rough with suppressed emotion. Do you understand? For 10 years, I've been a monster. I've killed 43 people, Luna. 43. I told myself it was justice, but watching you choose mercy when I would have chosen murder. He shook his head. I can't be that person anymore, but I don't know how to be anyone else. So you learn, Luna said simply. You find a quiet place, and you figure out who Kai Blackwood is when he's not hunting for revenge. And what if the answer is nobody? The question came out as barely a whisper. What if revenge was all I had left? Luna reached up to touch his scarred face, her human hands gentle against skin that had known too much violence. Then you start over. You build someone new from the pieces that are left. It's not easy, but it's possible. I should know, I'm about to try it myself. Kai caught her hand in his, pressing it against his cheek like a lifeline. Luna, I love you. That's the one thing I'm certain of in all this chaos. I love you, and I'm leaving you anyway, because staying would be selfish. You deserve better than a broken man who doesn't know how to be anything but a killer. And you deserve a chance to find out who you could become, Luna replied, tears flowing freely down her cheeks. But Kai? When you figure it out, when you learn how to be human again. I'll be here. Or somewhere. Living a small, ordinary life and probably making terrible coffee. Kai's laugh was broken but genuine. I hate coffee. Then I'll learn to make tea. He kissed her then, soft and desperate and final, pouring 10 years of love and loss and longing into a single moment of connection. When they broke apart, both were crying. Goodbye, Luna Martinez, he whispered. Not goodbye, she corrected. See you later. And then he was gone, walking out of the pack house and into the darkness beyond, leaving Luna standing in a room full of strangers who had once been her whole world. 6 months later. The bell above the cafe door chimed softly as Luna looked up from the espresso machine she was still learning to operate properly. Rain streaked the windows of Second Chances, the small coffee shop she'd opened in a quiet human town 300 miles from Silver Moon Pack territory. Her customer was a man in his 30s with storm-gray eyes and a scar that ran from temple to jaw. He was thinner than she remembered, wearing simple jeans and a flannel shirt that had seen better days. His hair was shorter, more controlled, and when he moved, it was with careful deliberation rather than predatory grace. "Coffee?" Luna asked, her voice carefully neutral even as her heart hammered against her ribs. "Please." Kai's voice was different too, quieter, more uncertain. "If you're not too busy." Luna glanced around the empty cafe, rain having driven away her usual afternoon customers. "I think I can manage 1 cup." She busied herself with the machine, grateful for something to do with her hands. "How do you take it?" "However you make it," he said simply. "I'm still learning to like it." "That makes 2 of us." Luna concentrated on not spilling the coffee as she carried it to the counter. "I've destroyed more espresso than I've successfully made in the past 6 months." Kai accepted the cup with hands that were steadier than hers, taking a careful sip. His face remained neutral, but Luna caught the slight twitch at the corner of his mouth. "That bad?" she asked. "It's unique," he said diplomatically. "Like burnt rubber with notes of regret." Luna laughed despite herself, the sound rusty from disuse. "The Yelp reviews are going to be brutal." "Then it's a good thing I'm not here for the coffee," Kai said quietly. They stood in silence for a moment, separated by 3 feet of counter space and 6 months of rebuilding themselves from scratch. Luna studied his face, looking for signs of the monster that had once worn it, but all she saw was a tired man trying very hard to be better than he'd been. "How are you?" she asked finally. "Broken," he answered honestly. "But, learning. I've been seeing a therapist. Dr. Sarah Chen, ironically, the same medical examiner you were asking about your mother's case. She specializes in trauma counseling for supernatural beings trying to reintegrate into normal life." "And is it working?" Kai considered the question seriously. "Some days are better than others. I still wake up expecting to hunt someone down, still feel the urge to solve problems with violence. But I'm learning other ways. Meditation helps. Volunteer work at the animal shelter. Terrible coffee with beautiful women who've given up everything to save people who didn't deserve saving." Luna felt heat rise in her cheeks. "I'm not sure about the beautiful part these days. Human life is aging me faster than supernatural healing used to fix." "You're more beautiful now than you ever were," Kai said simply. "Because now you're choosing to be here, choosing this life, rather than having it forced on you." "And you?" Luna asked. "Are you choosing to be here?" Kai set down his coffee cup and met her eyes directly. "I drove past this place 12 times before I got the courage to come in. Spent 2 hours sitting in my truck trying to decide if I had any right to disrupt the life you've built." "What changed your mind?" "The sign." He gestured toward the window where Second Chances was painted in cheerful yellow letters. "Seemed like maybe you were advertising." Luna's smile felt rusty but genuine. "Depends on what you're looking for." "Honestly? I have no idea," Kai admitted. 6 months ago, I knew exactly who I was and what I wanted. Now I'm just a guy with a pickup truck, a job at a construction company, and a therapist who thinks I have abandonment issues stemming from unresolved childhood trauma. Do you? Probably. Kai's smile was self-deprecating. But Dr. Chen also thinks I have an unusual capacity for growth and redemption, so there's that. Smart woman. She also suggested I stop running from the people who matter to me and try having an actual conversation about feelings. Kai's voice dropped to a whisper. "So here I am, having the worst coffee of my life and hoping you might want to try being friends with a former serial killer who's working very hard to become someone worth knowing." Luna felt tears prick her eyes. "Just friends?" "For now," Kai said carefully. "Until I figure out how to be someone who deserves more." If that ever happens. If you're interested in waiting around to find out. Luna looked at this man who'd once been a monster, who'd saved her life and broken her heart and was now standing in her cafe asking for a second chance at humanity. She thought about Derek, who'd sent her a formal letter of apology 3 months ago along with a check to cover her medical expenses and a note that he was stepping down as future alpha to pursue a less destructive path. She thought about her father, who called every Sunday to awkwardly attempt rebuilding a relationship with the daughter he'd spent 22 years lying to. She thought about Marie, who was reportedly traveling the world and using her centuries of accumulated knowledge to help supernatural beings in need. Everyone was trying to become better versions of themselves. Maybe it was time Luna did the same. You know, she said, moving around the counter to flip the open sign to closed, for 2 people who've lost everything, we make pretty good coffee. Kai's laugh was the most beautiful sound she'd heard in months. Luna, your coffee is objectively terrible. Then it's a good thing I'm more than my coffee-making skills. Much more, he agreed softly. Outside, the rain continued to fall, washing the world clean for whatever came next. Inside the warm circle of light cast by the cafe's windows, 2 broken people sat across from each other and began the slow, uncertain work of learning how to be human again. It wasn't a perfect ending. It wasn't even a particularly happy one. But it was honest, and it was theirs, and sometimes that was enough. Sometimes, the best revenge against a world that tried to break you was simply refusing to stay broken. If you are enjoying this video, do well to like this video and subscribe to this channel.